Hey everybody, it's Eleanor and I am hanging out with Jessica Larrew this morning. And if you don't know who Jessica is my Amazon coach. She coaches me about everything and all things selling on Amazon, physical products via FBA. So say hi to Jessica, or Jessica say hi to everybody. So I'm really excited that she's here because one of the first products that I ever bought from her was a report talking about how she works from home and what she does and one of her main sources. And so it really got me excited about, selling on Amazon. And so recently she's been talking about how her and Cliff get their, hustle on date night. And one of the most fun things that they've ever done is have this night where they made over $12,000 in profits. So we're going to talk all about that today.
It's pretty exciting.
So I mean, most women would be like, yeah, that's not a date night for me. I don't want to go looking for inventory to make money. So how does it happen that you and Cliff end up doing that?
Well, actually, so that's what I thought too, was that people would be like, oh my gosh, you're pretty lame. Why are you going sourcing on date night? And when I put the post up, I thought that that would be the response that I got. But it turns out that we're definitely not alone in this. And so anybody who is a couple selling on Amazon, it's actually really common, I'm finding out, that people like to go out and make money instead of go out and spend money for date night. So that I was super excited about that because it's always been something that we do, but it's definitely not like an every night thing that we go out. But, anytime that we've said before, I know that I've talked to you about this, but when we go on vacation, that's kind of one of the things that we like to do is source when we're on vacation because we want to see if we can find enough product to pay for everything that we do while we're on vacation. And so it's just something that we enjoy. And it was like, okay, well, we're on date night. And we have 2 nights a week where we have a babysitter just scheduled. And so it's kind of hard to come up with things to do 2 nights a week, every single week, right? I mean, you know how it is trying to think of new stuff to do, right?
Definitely.
So we're like, okay, well, we already went to dinner. There's no movie that we want to see. There's not really anything we want to do. And so we're like, well, what should we do? And so we're like, well, we're kind of over here by this liquidation store, and we haven't been here in about a month. So why don't we go in and see if we can find anything? And so we're like, all right. So we both were like, okay, well, let's just go. We'll go really quick. We're just gonna go see if they have any big quantities, because if we're sourcing just because it's our sourcing day, then we'll pay attention to a lot more stuff. But because we were trying to just make it quick, we're like, okay, well, let's just focus on the stuff that has bigger quantities that's really going to make a significant amount of money. And so that's kind of how we went into the store with that intention. And, I talked a lot about liquidation, and so that's one of the big benefits is that we get to find big quantities of stuff. So we went into this store, and we're like, okay, well, we haven't been here in a while, so that means there's a lot of sections that are going to have new things that we haven't seen before. And it was like right from the beginning we started seeing all this stuff that we hadn't seen before, and it looked really exciting, and like there was a lot of potential profit. And so it was like, yeah, this is really fun. And so we just kept joking about it like the whole time where they were like, we're totally just having date night hustle right now. And so that's like our new term for whenever we're sourcing on date night.
Oh, that is so much fun. It is because you go in and you're like, oh, it's going on a treasure hunt. So you really actually did find something fun to do on date night because you guys were doing a treasure hunt.
Right, exactly. And it's funny too because I mean we have a Suburban, and so it's large. Whenever we're sourcing, we put the back seat and the second seat down if we can, but if we have the car, so like if it wasn't planned, we have the car seat, and so like we couldn't put the second row down, and so we actually ended up, that picture that we have on the blog post, excuse me, is us sitting in our front seat, and our car is like packed completely full because of the quantities that we got, and we really didn't think it was going to be that much whenever we bought it. We just thought, you know, yeah, it's probably going to fill up the car, but it was like questionable if it was even all going to fit in the car.
That's so funny that you say that because I love my Bessie. I drive a 2003 Yukon too, and the I fold the back seat down, and then Dallas is she usually rolls her eyes at me because my middle seat to the seats that row will fold down, but it's split. So it's split. One seat that'll fold, one part of the seat will fold down, and then the other part where two people will sit will fold down, and all
Right.
her space gets taken away. I throw her to the front seat. And she's like, Mom. And then like you say, when you go on vacation, this past summer, I was going back and forth a lot to San Diego. And the last time I went was on October. And I did so much sourcing over there that she just had no room on her way home back to Vegas. So it was fun. It's totally fun because you pay for everything.
Right. We did that one time when we were going to Reno, and by the time we got there, our car, like the back of our car was so full, we had moved all of our luggage to the front, like to the middle seat, so that we could use all that row behind the second seat and put that seat down. And it was like we didn't even want to use like valet at the hotel or anything because we didn't want them to see what we had, like it was just so full of like one thing. And then we forgot about it at one point because we were there for like 5 days. And then we went to go back into the car, and when we opened the back, we dropped like 4 or 5 things out of the back. Like, oh.
Yep.
But could you imagine the valet if he had done that?
Oh, he would have been upset. Yeah, it's too funny too, because like, or just wait till he gets eight. Well, Aiden's used to it. Where my girls, they're like, we come home. I come home. I'm like, come help me unload the car, and they go to open the back of the Yukon. I'm like, don't open it, and they know this, but inevitably every single time they open it and stuff falls out of the car. So, and they're just like, ow. And then after I finished inventorying a shipment, they're like, oh, we have the house back. I'm like, just get over it. But back on topic. So this was a liquidation store. And for people who might not know what a liquidation store is, can you give us a quick overview what it is?
Yeah. So a liquidation store is a discount store that there's like two different ways that we can explain it. So first, it would be a place that's like Big Lots or grocery outlet, a store that gets products that are either discontinued or they're going through a packaging change, or the manufacturer just for whatever reason pulls them from the store shelves. And so they end up at stores that are like discount stores. And so there's the mainstream discount stores like Grocery Outlet and Big Lots. And then there's ones that are regional, because I think that Grocery Outlet is just on our side of the country. They don't have it on the East Coast. And so, but I know that they have some that we don't. So it just, whatever a chain discount store that you have, that would be one type of a liquidation store. And then there's also liquidation stores that are like mom and pop type stores where they only have one or two locations. They don't really advertise. And the key is that the way that they get their inventory is it's the stuff that, like I said, the manufacturers pull for whatever reason, and they buy it for like so cheap. And so they get their products for, we say, pennies on the dollar. And then they sell it usually for between 50 and 75% off of what the regular retail price was. And so it's basically like going into a store that is all a clearance aisle. And so, if you go into like CVS and you go to that clearance aisle, or that end cap. CVS doesn't do very good clearance anymore, actually, so that's not a very good example. But like Walgreens, you know, they always have that one aisle where they have all those orange tags everywhere, and you know, you go in and you check everything that's there, but you basically skip the rest of the store because it's all regular price or just a little bit on sale, and so you don't want to go through all of those products. With the liquidation store, pretty much everything in the store is marked down, so it's free game.
Right.
Well, it's not just that it's marked down that makes it so good for sellers. It's that those products are there because the manufacturer pulled them. And so we know that if something is discontinued and it has a following, then the more hard to find it gets, the more it usually ends up costing on the secondary market. And so things that, you know, maybe started off in the store at $5 and then, you know, they're 75% off, so you're getting them for just a couple dollars. Well, if people can't find them anymore, then the price just goes up. And so we can sell things that we buy for just a couple dollars for $15 to $20 just because people can't find them anymore.
Right.
And now, you know, when you buy stuff on clearance, you do find that sometimes. And, you know, that's like when it's really good clearance, you're like super excited about it and go to every store like we like to do. But the thing with the liquidation or the discount stores is that there's this time frame that happens where it takes them a while to get all the products back from the retail stores, and then they, you know, get it all into lots, and then they sell it off to the liquidation distributor, and then that person sells it off to the individual stores. And so it could be like months from the time that it was on clearance in Walgreens until it's in the discount store. And so in that time frame, people have already seen, oh my gosh, like this isn't at the store anymore and I can't find it. And so that's why with discount and liquidation stores, why the price is so much significantly higher usually than it is if you just buy it on clearance. It's because of that time frame that goes by. And of course it doesn't happen with every single product. It's like, you know, literally we're looking for just little pieces of gold within this whole store. But when we do find them, the margins are just what makes it so worth the hunt and the hustle.
And that's why you refer to it in the post as a diamond in the rough.
Right.
Okay, so I'm sure people are dying to know what those 3 products were that you found.
Yeah, they're pretty exciting. Okay, so the first one that we found, and so, you know, when we go in, since we've been doing this for a few years together now and we've been sourcing at liquidation stores, it's quite a bit easier for us to go in and be able to see like, oh, we've sold something similar to this before. And so that's why we were able to really like pick out the things. Excuse me. And so the first one is this lotion. It's a Carry lotion, and it's selling on Amazon for $79.99 for a 3-pack, and it's actually gone up as high as $115 for a 3-pack in the last couple of months. But right now it's selling for about $80 for a 3-pack. And I mean, that's just pretty ridiculous, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you think about, okay, so we're paying like $25 or more for a single unit of lotion. And so people are like, there's no way that this is going to sell for that much. Well, it's been like 4 weeks since, has it been 4 weeks since I did that post? And they're still selling for that much. And so that's the thing, is that whenever something is hard to find, you know, the price does stay high, because unless the thing that would change this from being $80, it would be as if another store got it, like a mainstream store got it, then the price would drop back down. But we're pretty confident that this product will continue selling for about $80 a 3-pack. And so we actually paid $4 a bottle for it, which is kind of high for a discount store like that, but it is lower than the regular retail price was. So we're looking at a cost of $12 for a 3-pack, and purchased 22 packs, and so we spent all of $264 for these, and the potential profit on that with a $1,500 sales price, we're looking at over $1,000 in profit just from that one lotion. So pretty much that alone, even if we looked in the whole entire store and spent 1 or 2 hours in there and we only found this one product, $1,000 for a couple hours of work in my book is totally worth it.
Yeah, that paid for dinner and then some.
Right. And that's the thing, is that it can be frustrating whenever you go into a store like this because, everything is fair game because it is all discounted and usually discontinued, but it's not all going to be profitable. And so you scan a lot of things before you find the ones that are really good, but it only takes one or two things to make the whole trip worth it.
Right.
So that was the first product, and over $1,000.
And you actually found more products than the 3 that you talked about, but the other products that you found, I think you said you found like 10 other products, but they weren't at 100% profit, correct? Was like 50%?
Right. And so if we're, on a night like this where it's like we're just going in for stuff like I mentioned where we can get a lot of it or it's really going to make a big amount of money, then, or a super high profit margin, then we kind of skip over the other stuff. But if it was like a regular sourcing day and we needed to spend a certain amount of money and guarantee a certain amount of profit, then we would consider the stuff with the lower profit margins. But for today, or that day, it just wasn't on our agenda to do that. And so, there are products where you'll find them that are 50% profit margin and range really well, or, they may be 100% profit margin, but they only make, and I say only with quotes, $10 instead of like 20 or, the things that we were looking at with these different products that we chose. And so I kind of, on that night, we're like, there is so much stuff here, but if we weren't being FBA snobs at the time, that we would have gotten and been totally happy with them. But it was just because of our motive when we went in, we didn't get them.
That is too funny, FBA snobs. That's cute. So,
yeah, Cliff kind of gives me a hard time because he's like, Jessica, people would kill to get these kind of things, and you're just like, nah, it only makes $7. I don't want to get it today.
Yeah, he's funny. That's funny. I can't believe you. That's cute though too. But I don't blame you, especially if you found something, because you still have to go home and you have to inventory it and do that other stuff. So I kind of can see why you were like, eh. And as you say, the picture shows that you barely fit everything that you did get that was 100% profit in your Suburban. So.
Right. And one thing that we do is, as we go through the store, I actually don't load up the cart until we're almost at the end. And so anything that seems like it's going to be a good deal, I'll put one into the cart. And then I kind of make the choice at the end, like, okay, well, these are the best of what we found. And so if we hadn't found, say we didn't find the tea, then we probably would have gone back and grabbed some of the other things. But it was like, oh, okay, well, we found this one thing that's going to make a bunch of money, so then we don't need to worry about those other things.
Oh, which is actually kind of cool because then you don't really draw any attention to yourself either. Because I've told that nightmare story a few times where I'm just throwing a whole bunch of things in the cart and then that woman was just following me around, which is a story for another time. But so the turkey brine selling for almost $40 a 3-pack. I'd never heard of turkey brine.
Yeah, me either. And so that's one of the things I do whenever I'm in the store is if I've never heard of something, it's like a definite scan, because it's like, well, that makes it a little bit unique at least. It's not like I've heard of everything, but, if I haven't heard of it, maybe it's something that isn't as common. And so I always scan it. And the first thing, whenever I scanned it, I don't know if you, or obviously you've seen the picture, but for the people who are listening, they haven't seen the picture, and it looks like a glass bottle, but it's actually plastic, and so I had scanned it, and, rule of thumb is if it's glass, just don't even bother scanning it, and so Cliff's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's plastic, and it's profitable.
It's plastic and it's profitable. That's too funny. Yeah, nothing glass. That's too funny.
So on the turkey brine, I think that the retail price is actually about $7 on that, and we ended up paying $1.50 per bottle, and it's selling in the 3-pack for $37.97 whenever we listed it, and so our 3-pack cost is $4.50, so less than the price of one bottle at a retail store, and then we only got, in air quotes again, 9 packs, and so that'll make almost $200 just from those 9 packs.
Okay, so then is that because you were testing it, or there just wasn't enough to do more than 9 packs?
That's all that there was.
Okay. Now, so everybody is going, okay, well, that's not quite 12,000. So do you guys want to really know the really cool thing? And you wouldn't think that this would be this huge moneymaker, but it is. So why don't I stop talking and let you tell them?
Okay, so the big money maker is that we found some discontinued tea, and it was $1.50 marked in the store, and they had a whole pallet of it. And so this is really the kind of stuff that we really are looking for when we go into liquidation stores, is things that have major quantities, because we can buy something one time and then it will last us for months and months and bring in an income every single month, which obviously means that we don't have to work as much in the following months. And so when we found the tea, we realized that it was selling for $15 a box, and it had a pretty good rank for the single one, but there was also a listing for a 2-pack that had no sellers on it, and the last time it had sold was for almost $30. And so going with the fact that the one is selling at $15 pretty consistently, and there is the listing for a 2-pack, then we chose to go for the 2-pack and put it based at a price of $30. And so it seems kind of crazy, like, because when I buy tea, I usually buy like a box that's like $4. So I don't really buy expensive tea to begin with. But tea is something that we've sold in the past and made a lot of money on. It used to be in the original version of Liquidation Gold, I think. But so we kind of knew that tea is just one of those things that has a following, but this particular tea already originally cost like $8 a box. And so we actually bought over 1,000 boxes of the tea. Wow. And so we just bought all that they had. Now, that's not actually something that I really recommend that people do whenever they're, like if you go in and it's your first time and you see this palette, like don't just buy the full box. Or the full palette. I usually would recommend that you test some of it or at least do some research. So what we did in the store was we went to the website of the tea company, so it's a Talbot tea, and so we went to talbot.com and we saw that this whole line of tea was discontinued. It was all sold out, and so that's always a good sign. It lets us know that, okay, the manufacturer at least isn't going to be competing with us, or people aren't going to be able to buy it direct from the manufacturer. And then we also searched to see, okay, well, is there something different? And we could see that they stopped selling them in the sachet, and then they're selling them in a different type, like they come in a tin now and not the box, and it's not the same packaging on the inside. And so that's another good thing. And then if we Googled it, we could see that people were like, I can't find my tea. And so to us, it was a pretty good indicator that it's going to be good for long term. But what I would recommend that people do is buy some, take them home, send them into Amazon, test them out. But because I don't follow my own tips, we bought them all. And so we figured that even if, like right now, the 2-pack isn't listed at $30. It's only listed at $15, which doesn't really make sense because the single has been selling for so long at $15. So why would you only charge $15 for the 2-pack? But these have a really long expiration date, and so for us, the goal was as long as we can sell them within a year, then we're okay waiting on them. And we had the space to keep them at our house without having to worry about, they don't have to be in a specific like climate control because of what they are. And so we just thought, okay, well, it's something that we were willing to risk holding on to for a while. And, as long as we get them sold within a year and we sell them close to the $30 per pack, then we'll end up with over $11,000 in profit on that one purchase of 1,100 boxes.
Yeah, you're like me. I always tell my kids, do what I say and not what I do. And I do that too. I'll be like, I know I should test this, but I'm like, nope, I'm buying them all. So, but yes, that's pretty awesome. So you guys spent a total of $1,684 that night on your date night, and you have a potential profit of over $12,000.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And so, we actually have quite a few times in the past bought loads like this and had them sit for almost a year and just sell consistently over that time. And so it's really cool because, if you have something like, okay, so it takes a year to sell this and make the $12,000, but that's an additional $1,000 in income that we don't have to keep working for every single month. And so last year we actually had 3 items that were like this where we sold almost $1,000 a month worth of them. And so it was like we had $3,000 in income from 3 different products.
Oh, that's nice. So that's the one thing too, like when you said you looked at the expiration date when they go into these outlet stores that they really need to pay attention to if it's a food item.
Right. Or health and beauty. And so, like, if somebody isn't approved yet in health and personal care or grocery or beauty, the store probably isn't going to be the best for them because, that's where most of the stuff that we buy comes from. But we also do find stuff in, like, the home section. We find a lot in pets and in baby. And so, you're just going to be skipping a big portion of the store.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we've gone over all 3 of the products, and I hope that you found in the store to make a profit, and I hope this has given people an idea of what they could do, because a lot of people just tend to go to, the regular box stores like Walmart, Target, just whatever type stores those are, instead, and there's other places that they can shop. And this is like with the liquidation. So, and basically you could just go into Google and type in liquidation store for your area to find one, correct?
Right.
Okay. So I hope this has encouraged you. And if you are curious and want to find out more about Jessica's little adventures with going and shopping at liquidation stores with her and Cliff, they do have a guide called Liquidation Gold, and it's a guide for Amazon sellers. And it was the guide that I was talking about at the beginning of the interview that I read, and I got this book, and I had the older version, and I read it from cover to end, and I was so excited to start my Amazon business. I was just so thrilled. So I hope that you will grab it. All you have to do is there'll be a link here in the PowerPoint and also under the video, and you can go ahead and go on some fun adventures and turn your date night into a hustle. And make sure.
I don't know if you read the update yet, but I did just update the guide this year, and so when I very first wrote it, it was the very first guide I ever wrote for Amazon, and it was pretty short compared to what I've done now. And so actually it's about double the size it was when it originally came out. And so got a lot more examples from things that are more current and, updated changes in Amazon's rules and, new things that we've learned over the years. So it's quite a bigger guide than it was when it first came out. So.
Oh, I didn't think it was short when it first came out, but I was like, oh, this is great. But no, I haven't, which is bad. So I do need to go back and reread it, which is also kind of cool that you brought that up because, correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry if I'm throwing you under the bus, but anybody who had the original version does have the updated version, correct?
Yep. So the new one is already in everybody's account that bought the first one. So.
Oh, cool. So yeah, I guess kind of like I was saying, it does, and you know what? If you're single like me, it doesn't have to be a date night hustle. It can be your own hustle. But yeah, so it's just a whole other. I guess if you're struggling or wanted a different avenue or something to look at, it's just a whole other way of finding inventory and enjoying it. But before that's what I forgot. I wanted to ask you about that. So because Amazon's warehouse has fees for storage, so you guys only send in a certain amount. And how do you gauge when you send in more of that item?
Right. So we don't send in all the stuff. So this strategy only works when we have space. And so there was a little period of time where we were doing liquidation where we didn't have much space to put stuff. And so right now we have a 3-car garage and we have 1 car space is pretty much dedicated to our long-term products. And what we do is we try and always have a 3-month supply at Amazon. And that way we never have to pay long-term storage fees on the products. And so what we'll do is we just guess in the beginning at how many we think that we can sell in the month, and then we gauge from there. If I send in 30 and I sold 10 in 1 month, then it's like, okay, well, let's always make sure that we have 30 there. Or if we send in 30 and we sell out in the first month, then we know, okay, well, next time we can send in almost 100. So that's kind of what we do is just try and keep a 3-month supply, but I don't really have like a good formula for figuring out how many to send in the beginning. We just kind of take a guess at it and then adjust from there.
Okay, so that's easy. I mean, it's not easy, but I mean, because you're doing the guesstimate, but I mean, that's basically what it is. You just kind of have to go from there.
Right.
But having the space, and then I'm actually kind of jealous now because I'm thinking about that. I'm going, oh, how easy is it to go into the garage and say, oh, I just need to send in my replenishable and
Right.
not go to the store and find it. Okay. All right.
Right.
Okay, so with that, you can read all about it in the guide. And again, the guide's Liquidation Gold. And make sure after you read it, and if you do go to a liquidation store and you do find things, make sure to come back to Jessica's site. And you can always go to the blog and then go into the search bar if you can't find the exact post and just type in date night and it'll come up. And make sure you leave a comment and tell her so that, she can see not see what you found, but, sharing your celebration of what your profit and all that good stuff. That's the story that I meant to say that she wants to hear.
Totally.
All right, cool. Okay, so, thanks, Jessica, for, answering my questions and sharing with us all about Liquidation Gold today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.